The Rytec AMR, otherwise known as the Barrett 50 cal, is an absolute beast of a sniper. This is the biggest and the most hard-hitting sniper in Modern Warfare right now. If shooting your enemies with regular 50 cal ammunition wasn't enough, then the Rytec gives you the option to use explosive rounds, which will turn your targets into dust. If that's still not enough, then you can use thermite rounds, which will turn them to ash in an equally brutal fashion. This new addition to Modern Warfare offers a great deal of choice and has a huge amount of potential. This video is going to be giving you a full guide to the Rytec. I'll be covering the best class setup that you can use, tips and tricks for maximum success when using this weapon, as well as my own thoughts on what this gun is like to use. Timestamps are in the description for each section of this video. I'll start right off with the ideal class setup for multiplayer. Now when you first get this sniper, you're probably going to be in for a nasty surprise. It is not an easy weapon to use straight out of the box. It has a very unique scope that you're either going to love or hate. It's a very heavy and cumbersome sniper, which means that your mobility and movement speed are reduced to a minimum. It also has a slightly slower bullet velocity than the other bolt action snipers, which definitely takes some getting used to. This all results in the weapon having a steep learning curve, but it is definitely worth mastering, as this weapon can be lethal in the right hands. The high fire rate, low recoil and ability to customise your ammunition means that you can sculpt this weapon to suit your needs. If you want a long distance, hard hitting machine that guarantees a one-shot kill, then you can do that. If you want a fast paced, shoot on the move sniper, then you can make that setup as well. For the long distance approach, I'd recommend the following: FTAC 7 straight barrel, Rytec AMR suppressor, 25 by 59mm explosive rounds, XRK Mastodon stock, variable zoom scope. These attachments maximise the range and damage of the Rytec and will let you decimate enemies across maps with ease. It's big, it's brutal, and that's about it. As for the mobile sniper setup, I'd advise this: tack laser, stippled grip tape, Stovel tack wrap stock, Rytec AMR suppressor, FTAC 7 straight barrel. This setup prioritises aim down sight time over everything else. It's still got some serious range, so you can tackle enemies at long distances, but it will be harder for you. Both classes have great potential, but reflect very different playstyles. One is more reserved, dedicated to a slow-paced, methodical approach. The other is all about movement. You'll need to get yourself into the right position behind and around objectives in order to maximise your kills. Both can be used to great effect, so see what works for you. Now that you've got the ideal setup, I want to cover some tips and tricks that I would recommend when using this sniper. For me, every sniper rifle, including the Rytec, is at its best in ground war. In this mode, you can really get the most out of the extended range that this rifle offers you. You won't have to worry about rushing SMG or shotgun players, as the increased size of the maps makes these weapons far less effective. Plus, the high player count gives you ample opportunity to go on long streaks and rack up high kill games. You can approach this mode however you like. You can sit back and take long shots, or you can rush in and tackle the 32 enemies head first. I would always recommend a tactical approach, where you cover high traffic areas and try to flank enemies as much as possible. For me, being where enemies don't expect you to be, and out of the direct line of fire, is always the best approach with a sniper. My first major piece of advice when using the Rytec is to carry a fully automatic secondary. I normally run an M4 as it's effective at short to medium range. I also make sure to have amped equipped in order to shorten the weapon swap time. Whenever you're using a sniper rifle, there are going to be times when you find yourself tackling multiple enemies or in a situation where having a sniper rifle simply isn't ideal. At close range, for example, you're far less likely to come out on top in a gunfight with just a sniper. Being able to quickly switch to a fully automatic secondary means you can defend yourself effectively. Plus, if you're being suppressed by one or more enemies, then it's far easier to shoot back with a fully automatic weapon than a precision based rifle. Any weapon can work though. The point is that it's a reliable secondary that you can use when having a sniper rifle is problematic. My next tip is to not abuse the fire rate. And also, don't expect to just be able to spam fire your way out of situations. This gun doesn't have a lot of recoil in my opinion, especially not if you have the recoil compensating muzzle equipped, but it's still too much to easily stay on target. If you don't wait for the scope to settle and realign on your target, then I guarantee you that rapid follow-up shots won't hit their mark. You need to take your time to aim properly, especially if your target is a considerable distance away. The high fire rate does not negate the need for accuracy. Learning to control this recoil and how to time follow-up shots is what will really let you get the most out of the Rytec. Once you're confident with it, you can bounce from target to target without needing to re-aim the scope. The advantage of the fire rate is most obvious at close range, as there's less pressure for pinpoint accuracy. You can drop multiple enemies in quick succession, something that is much harder with bolt action rifles. So long as you don't panic fire, you're going to be alright. My final piece of advice is to avoid using the explosive or thermite rounds if you can. Whilst having a guaranteed one-shot kill is a nice luxury in multiplayer, it's not really necessary. These ammunition types are, in my opinion, overkill. They make total sense in Warzone, where being able to dish out massive damage in a single shot is a very important feature. But, in multiplayer, they just aren't worth it. They cripple bullet velocity, range, and mobility, without really offering you a lot. You're much better off being consistently accurate with regular ammunition. Aiming for upper chest to head shots at all ranges will consistently yield one-shot kills without the downside of these ammos. This means that you can have a much easier to use weapon, and also frees up an attachment slot for something more useful. I can definitely see the appeal of these ammo types as they're both cool and effective, but they're just not needed for regular game modes. My thoughts on this weapon are definitely mixed. It's got a lot of advantages that make it very appealing. The high fire rate and monstrous damage can make it an absolute machine when it comes to long distance kills and taking on groups of enemies at closer ranges. But it's definitely got some problems that kind of spoil it. It's big and heavy, which makes mobile sniping much harder. I personally don't like the default scope, but that's entirely personal preference, I will admit. Right now, in multiplayer, you can hop into any mode on any map, and I guarantee you that most players are using this Rytec. I think that once the excitement has died down, this weapon will not be as popular as the other rifles, at least in multiplayer. It's definitely got a place as a big, hard-hitting machine in Warzone, but there are simply better options for